Hello, YouTube. It's K2 Karama, and this is the Philosopher Stonecast, episode 16. We're finally back after a quick break. I was sick for a little while, and then schedules were all over the place. So we're gonna try to get back on track. And of course, we have Kenny here with us today, and as well
How?
as our atheist friend, Justin the
We are
Annihilator.
all.
Aren't we all though? I mean,
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess so.
there's no guessing, Chris. You're either with us or against us.
Join the dark side.
You see the Star Wars movie?
Yeah, I just bought it on Amazon.
It just came out. Um, but you watched it, all right?
Yeah, I just
saw
watched
it.
it. Yeah,
Okay. Han Solo dies.
Yeah, Han Solo dies.
He dies.
Kylo
I saw
Ren
that on
is a
YouTube
hipster.
before I saw the movie.
I always thought he would die more cooler, like in a cooler way, but I guess that's okay. I don't know.
Yeah, but Kylo Ren is such a whiny hipster kid.
Bitch.
Yeah, he
He's
is
a bitch.
now, but he has to finish his training. That's the whole thing. He has
I'm sorry, but it's
Isn't
some
Marvel
little
whiny?
girl from some desert country who collects scrap,
I
doesn't know
have
anything
a
about the Force, can beat you in a contest of like mental force manipulation. You've had training.
Well, right before that. He did take a fucking explosive crossbow to the chest.
yeah,
Um,
and he had his face
Wouldn't have stopped the original Darth Vader.
messed up. He's
Yeah,
gonna the next
It would have
movie.
stopped the original Anakin. Darth Vader, by the time he's Darth Vader, is pretty much machine.
That's the way to go. Resistance is futile, man.
I'm just saying, it's what's ridiculous to me about him though is it's not about how strong he is. It's the fact that he's whiny. Like it's like you saw the part whenever he's in that room destroying all the shit, and then like the two stormtroopers walk up and they're like, "Oh no, no," and they just turn around and walk off.
Basically, yeah, just like,
Yeah.
okay, we'll go somewhere
Seems
else.
like Kylo's having another one of his bitch fits.
Basically, like, oh shit, man, we can't go down this fucking place again.
But yeah, I
Ow.
mean, it just shows how inexperienced he is, and
Kind
Yeah.
of immature
I'm
as well.
I'm pretty sure in the next movie he's gonna be like probably the next most badass Star Wars villain like ever.
Possibly, but if you remember, I mean, like, I don't know who it was, but somebody kind of warned him that that Dark Master was just using him to his evil bidding, but that he would throw him away at any chance he would get. I don't know. I don't remember. I don't remember. It's not exactly as what the person said, but that's basically what they said. I don't remember who it was.
It's probably
Um,
Solo.
it's probably Solo. Yeah, it's probably Solo. Um, so I mean, you had that. And so he might get the training, but who says that the Dark Master doesn't try to get Rey on his side? You know, turn her to the dark side, and then he'll abandon Ben Solo, who is now.
I think he's gonna do something crazy and like sacrifice himself or something.
Yeah,
Well, he's
'cause-
already killed his father, so apparently he's already ascended to that next level of phase
Yeah.
where he's ready for that next level of training to
He's
become.
he's he's committed a mortal sin at that point though, so it's like it's more along the lines of his character. Me and my wife were talking about it while we were watching the movie in the theaters. Is like his character to redeem himself is probably going to have to kill himself in a sacrificial manner.
Yeah,
Look, you might. I mean, that's what happened to the original Darth Vader. Even after all the evil, even after all the things he's done, um, he saved a son he never met, and killed himself in the process.
Yeah, that was his act of redemption,
Yeah.
and
So I
that's how
mean,
he was able to ascend back to the light side of the Force. You know, after his death.
but in the beginning half of the Star Wars movie, you had that opening sequence where you saw Darth Vader's, you saw Ben Solo, Kylo Ren, you saw him talking to Darth Vader's mask,
Yeah.
and it kind of seemed like they were trying to say that like that mask was still had a presence of Darth Vader inside of it, that maybe somehow all that dark energy, that dark force wasn't gone from it, because he was like talking to it, like teach me, prepare me,
Yeah.
and you
Or Kylo Ren's nuts. I
or
mean,
Kylo Ren's nuts. Or yes, or yes. I mean, he probably is nuts. But it kind of seemed like they were saying that like that Darth Vader presence never really went away. Like somehow the helmet is still keeping it here. I don't know.
Like a used
It
condom.
seemed like yeah, like it seemed like he was getting some kind of like a telepathic communication from it or something like that. I don't know.
Yeah. Star Wars. Nothing but Star Wars.
You think they're gonna like add like something new like to the lore of Star Wars? Like,
I don't really
Probably.
know if they can. I mean, it's kind of late
and
in the
like
story.
No, I
Depends.
think
Like
if they
like
take anything from Knights of the Old Republic or take anything from any other part of the Star Wars universe, sure they can. They can introduce like mixed force powers, where you use both the light and dark side of the force, where the dark side isn't able to corrupt you because of how you use the light side. I
that
mean,
seems too easy though.
it's kind of like a D&D character or like an
yeah,
That seems like you have like God mode on or something like that.
yeah.
Like you're playing a game, you have God mode or
but that's like
unlimited
the
ammo.
natural destination for this kind of power struggle to go to. Like any show that you watch, where there's like two sides, right? And the main force of character, the protagonist is able to beat the dark side by using both sets of power. It's reminiscent of like they transcend the conflict by you becoming both sides.
I mean, I guess you could kind of, I guess you could kind of see that in the Ray torture scene where Kylo Ren is the very beginning. They had that little mini stare down as he's trying to reach into her thoughts, and he's kind of getting in there a little bit.
Yeah.
Gets in there deep.
She's obviously looking at him as if like she wants to come out of that chair and rip his fucking throat out. So she definitely has a little bit of that anger, but she's able to channel the positive side of the force and overcome that mental torture and kind of push Kylo Ren out and actually even steal from his memory.
See, I just wonder, freaking, oh God, what's his name? Traitor? Uh, Black guy? Damn it.
Finn.
Then yeah,
Who? Yeah, Ben.
Ben.
Yeah, Ben.
Finn.
All right, so like Ben seems to have some connection to the Force too.
Yeah,
No.
but he gets his ass whooped almost in every single scene that he is in though.
I'm kidding.
Yeah,
like
but he
like with
still
that stormtrooper when he first has a lightsaber, when he first gets a lightsaber and he goes up against that stormtrooper that calls him traitor for the first time, he gets his ass
Mhm.
whooped. He
Yeah.
goes against Kylo Ren, he gets his ass whooped. So he might have some portion of the Force, but I think that he's supposed to kind of take over Ben Solo's character. Ben Solo didn't necessarily have a relationship with the Force. I mean,
I
it helped him out.
You mean Han Solo?
Yeah,
I
sorry, Han Solo didn't have much of a relationship
Yeah.
with the Force.
I think
It
the
helped him
guy who's
out,
going to
but
take over Han Solo's position is the guy who was Ben's friend, the one who gave him his name.
the black guy.
No, the guy with the jacket. Can't remember his
Oh yeah,
name.
the best pilot in the rebellion.
Poe
Yeah.
something.
I-
Poe.
I think he'll be the new Han.
Yeah, but I think
The other guy will be.
Well, he wasn't really given much screen time though. It wasn't really set up. I mean,
Yeah, but he's pretty but his face is pretty enough and his character's prominent enough, and he also gave one of the main characters his name, like his actual name that he uses. I can't see them just getting rid of him.
I'm not getting rid of him, but I mean,
he's gonna play a bigger part in the next
if
movie.
anything, him and Finn are going to team up, and it's going to become kind of like what's that guy whose scream is famous? What's his name? Chewie or something like that?
Chewbacca.
Chewbacca. There you go. It's going to become like Finn and that guy who gave him his name is going to become like the new Solo and Chewbacca.
But Chewbacca's still alive.
Yeah, but he's with Rey on her mission to become a new Jedi. So he's not gonna be featured as prominently inside the series and likely as much as he was in this first film right here.
Well, from what I understand of it, like if you want to pattern it from the past movie, Rey is Luke, and
Yeah.
Luke is Yoda, and Kylo Ren is trying to be Darth Vader, but is being a bitch about it. And the Palpatine is now tall evil dude.
Yeah.
Then that would mean that character who pilots would be closest to Han, and then Finn would be closest to possibly either he's like
Goku.
a whole new character, you know.
He's like Goku. He's gonna come back in the next movie. Like he's gonna become healthy and try twice as strong.
But
And
the reason I said it seems like Finn had a connection to the Force is because Finn broke out of his programming.
Well, yeah, but
he
he
wasn't.
wasn't programmed necessarily.
Yeah.
He's not a clone. He's a
Yeah.
person who he was born and he was ripped away from his parents, so he
Yeah,
wasn't
but
technically.
he had to have all the other ones that were ripped away from their parents were programmed to
Well, yeah, I mean,
be.
they're all programmed. It's like I'm saying, Han Solo was helped out by the Force on occasion.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like the same thing. Like Finn, he doesn't have the Jedi training. He like the lightsaber of Luke didn't call to him; it called to Rey.
I
Now
think
that's
it'd be
the
cool if we found out that Finn's dad was Mace Windu.
that would be cool.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I don't know.
but
Anyway, half really.
but no, I mean like
Yeah.
it's likely that Finn will he has a portion of the Force, right? You know,
It seems like
he can feel it, he can sense it, but he like kind of like some of the
can't
other
use it.
characters, he can't necessarily channel the energy. He's not like powerful. Rey is kind of like how Anakin was. You know, her
Well,
the Force is very very strong in her.
yeah.
And she
Well, I mean,
it kind of grew naturally.
it's pretty obvious that Rey is probably Luke's daughter.
Well, yeah, that's
Um,
been theorized for a while now. Yeah.
yeah, so and I think in this next movie that they're going to release about how they got the plans to make the Death Star, I think that like the main character in that is going to be who Luke blinked. Uh, so it seems to me like of course Kylo and Rey are probably cousins,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah, that seems to be that sounds about right to me.
It would explain why Rey has so much power in the Force, but you would think that like Luke would know that Rey was his daughter.
I mean, he just might not say anything about it.
Either that or the person who Luke was with didn't tell him.
Well, it's possible. The whole hard thing about Luke though with this movie is the lack of any script time.
Yeah,
Yeah, he kind of just stands there and he's like, "Who are you? What happened?"
I love Did you guys see the interview? He was him and one of the other people from the movie, and they were being interviewed by someone, and they were talking, and then they ask Mark Hamill a question, and Mark Hamill's just staring intently into the camera like this. And he's like, "Oh, sorry, I'm not used to having script time. I'm just used to staring intently into the camera."
Yeah.
I mean, it was yeah, but wasn't he intimately involved with this project, and wasn't he kind of like one of the main people who kind of helped it become reality?
Um, well, George Lucas did the world a favor by selling it to Disney. So
Yeah.
I think all of the old
Not
characters
many
had some
places can say that.
influence.
I mean, I probably would have done the same thing.
Yeah.
I mean,
It's not like George Lucas is getting any younger.
he's still gonna get some money from it, and he's just all he has to do is just be like, "Okay, I like this.
Well, dude, it's like how much money
Carry
does he
on."
already have from it? Like, think about how much money he already has from it.
Yeah.
I bet you that freaking George Lucas has some accounts in the Panama.
Well, I mean, yeah, I mean, you figure the first one came out in the '70s,
Yeah.
Yeah.
and then my parents grew up certainly having all the first three movies. Our generation had the last two movies, I think was, or maybe the
There's
first
three.
last three.
Yeah, the
Um,
prequels that were,
that were switched all of a sudden to be the end. That confused the shit out of me. Um,
no, it's like they're horrible. The prequels are horrible.
well, because like you have like the end ones. Like I'm a Trekkie, so
Mhm.
I was introduced to Star Wars late. I didn't see any of the new movies come out as they did. I didn't even hear about it. When I watched it by number order. So all of a sudden, I go from the third film to the fourth film. I'm like, whoa, that looks more modern. That other one, I'm like, this one's from the like special effects from the '80s and everything like that, in the '70s. Not the best. but then you switch to ones in the 90s and the early 2000s, and you get the CGI effect almost.
Yeah. So like
Um,
you watch Phantom Menace, then the Clone Wars, and then Revenge of the Sith, and then you watch the earlier three that are actually the later three, and then the Force Awakens takes place after the end of the earlier three.
I think it was like 30 years, right?
Yeah, yeah, and so like this new movie that's coming out that's not a sequel to the Force Awakens is between the end of that and or the no sorry between the prequels and the older three. I think is yeah.
Yeah.
Well, they're building the Death Star. Doesn't the Death Star get built in the second to last film of the first three?
Yeah. Well, not it's already being built. Like it's already being built throughout all of the first three movies. Like it's
Oh,
just
okay.
you don't know about it until later. So they got the plans to build it after the Revenge of the Sith.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So this movie is really going to try and tie together the prequels and the originals, and that way there's a more firm basis for what they're going to be doing in the next two movies after this one.
Like a better movie
Yeah,
than the prequels.
yeah, it's something that tries to apologize to us for it.
Well, I
So
mean,
we're
they don't have
sorry.
to
Here's a whole bunch of
apologize.
explosions.
Yeah, that'll do it.
I mean, I knew the movie was going to come out. I was like, it's going to do good because it's Star Wars. It doesn't matter if it's a crappy movie or not. It's Star Wars.
Yeah, the
And
merchandise
it came out, and it was, guess what? It was Star Wars.
Well, yeah, but the funny thing is that like that's like National I'm gonna call out day. You have a whole
Yeah.
bunch of people that try to get out on the day it comes out in theaters, and like nobody shows up to work. You're short on everyone.
Yeah, I know that I got Star Wars Battlefront for PC
Oh
last
yeah.
week. Um, and it's I can't wait because the DLC that's coming out. Of course, you have the Outer Rim first, then it's Bespin,
Hmm.
and then you're gonna get the Death Star as a playable map, and then it's a question mark for the last DLC. And I wonder what that's going to include. I wonder if it's going to be stuff from The Force Awakens, or I wonder if it's going to be stuff from this movie that's coming out, the Rogue One.
I thought they did have something from the Force Awakens already.
They're getting Force Awakens.
No, on Star Wars Battlefront.
Yeah, I was pretty sure they did.
What is it?
The battle that happens at the planet where the like that.
After they destroyed all the first 9 planets, there was one planet left over that Ben Solo was on. I mean, not Ben, Han Solo was on, and Rey was on.
Yeah,
Finn
there was
on.
the one where she was like, "I've never seen so much green in the galaxy," or whatever.
Right, yeah, and then it was when Finn was trying to get her the lightsaber for the first time.
I
It's where Rey.
I don't know.
It's
I don't
where
know
Rey.
if it's.
The only maps I have is I have Endor, I have Hoth, I have Celeste, the Outer Rim, and one other one.
Yeah.
I think maybe like if you're playing online and one of the Walker Assault modes is freaking the Graveyard of Giants. That one looks like where Rey was in the beginning of the 7th movie. So I think
The desert planet.
Yeah, I think that's where I think that particular stage is from Force Awakens.
Yeah. Anyway,
There's like,
let's move on.
yeah, let's move on.
Star Wars is never going to change.
I know. The funny thing is that me and Justin are also Trekkies. You have a bunch of Trekkies talking about Star Wars.
Yeah.
Come
I mean, I'll
on,
be the
Star
first to
Trek,
admit
come out with your new movie already, damn it.
my favorite. Oh, I think it's great that the same director is doing both Star Wars and Star Trek right now.
I'm pretty sure the new one's going to be pretty good too.
Yeah, I think that he should drop Star Wars Easter eggs in Star Trek and drop Star Trek Easter eggs in Star Wars. Just do it.
Or he like blends them together in some way.
That
Like
would be weird.
say like in the Star Trek movie, they're like, oh, we noticed this crazy amount of energy out of nowhere, which was like remnants of the big old second Death Star thing blowing up the other planets, or something like
But
that.
like the premise is like in Star Wars, it's in a galaxy far, far away.
Yeah.
So it's not in our galaxy, and in Star Trek, they don't really go to other galaxies. I mean, they kind of
No.
do, but
Well, that's
they
not. No,
haven't.
they've never really gone to like the Andromeda galaxy. They've never gone there. It's
There was
different quadrants within the Milky Way galaxy. You have the Beta Quadrant, Gamma, Delta, and then you have the one that the Federation is in, which I don't think anyone knows. Alpha. There you go. Because you had the Alpha, Beta,
yeah, but
Gamma,
there's
and
one
Delta.
particular episode of TNG wherever Wesley has the Quina guy on there,
Yeah.
and that guy uses his power and kind of messes with the warp core, and they end up in another galaxy altogether. But that's like the
Oh,
only
okay.
time. Um, yeah, because to go all the way to like Gamma Quadrant in TNG would take over 100 years.
Right. They're only able to get there because they use the DS9 wormhole.
Yeah, and they hint at the wormhole in TNG in the third season whenever they I can't remember what star system it was, but they thought they found a stable wormhole, and it was stable on one side, but on the other side it kept going to different places.
Yeah, and there was a Ferengi vessel that got trapped, and it got thrown to the Delta Quadrant. And then Voyager actually came upon that same planet in that same wormhole in a later episode. And the Ferengi had actually come to the planet, and they become kind of like not rulers, but kind of like the head people. Where all the other villagers, they would pay taxes to them and everything like that.
Yeah. What's Justin doing?
Mm-hmm.
I think he left to like wake up his wife or whatever.
Oh, for work.
Uh
Yeah, that's fine.
um
Well, there's a couple of there's actually one topic that I wanted to discuss.
sure, what is it?
Well, it's the repeated mentions, or at least the fascination with Hillary not being able to swipe properly, or at least the system not accepting the swiping of her subway card. Whether or not that's really something that needs to be concentrated on, or whether or not that really actually rationally or logically means anything, or it's just something that is being used to try to kind of like separate her from average Americans because for some odd reason, her card wasn't being accepted. As if no one's ever had technical issues with machines. You know, there's just questions that need to be asked, like why is it being so concentrated on? Are there any other? Has there ever been any other person who's had to swipe their card multiple times? It's probably so. But they're not paid attention to, and she's only being paid attention to because people are trying to paint that as her not being the average American. Well, yeah, she gets driven to a lot of places. No shit, she's a senator. She is someone who has a lot of money, and when you have a lot of money, even if even if a regular person had a lot of money, they likely wouldn't drive themselves a whole lot of places, especially if most of the things that they did was working in cities where either you have a taxi, you walk, or you have someone drive you. If you drive by yourself in the city, I mean, you might as well just pull a gun out and do it yourself because you're gonna be stuck in traffic all damn day.
Yeah. I mean, I'm pretty sure if I had the money, I wouldn't drive myself anywhere ever.
Why would you? I mean, like it's kind of like saying like, oh, okay, well, I wanna get pizza.
I'll just
but I
say
have to go
butter
get it.
on pizza.
But I have to go get the pizza.
Mhm.
Now, see, as an average person, okay, you go, okay, I want pizza. I gotta go get it. But then you kind of go, well, I can't get pizza from this place, but if I get pizza from this place, they deliver. I'll go with this place because they deliver. I'll just pay the tip.
Yeah.
Okay. You know, and then so you kind of like sacrifice what you really want to get something that's somewhat equal, but it's because of the fact that you'll have a certain income. But when you're rich, you can go, hey driver, or hey assistant, or hey whoever is under your wing, I want this such and such pizza. Go get it and bring it back here. You know,
Having a
uh,
servant.
having a servant, yeah, right? Actually, believe it or not, funny enough, I have these like year in my life goals later in life, like live in a city for a year, um, live in a
Having
different
sex.
country for a year, huh?
Huh?
What'd you say?
So I said have gay sex. It was.
Well, no. I mean, I don't mind having sex for a year, but it's not certainly not gay sex. But just not my thing. But no, like, and one of the things I have is that, like, because I invest in the stock market, so my income will be proportionally higher as time goes on, because of the fact that my stock market returns will gain me dividends, and also I can sell at higher prices, etc., etc. One of the things is to live a year as a rich person. I'm talking about New
Like,
York house in something that I fucking hate, in a neighborhood that has
super
one of those
gentrified
things,
area.
one of those those homeowner associations where they tell you how much your grass has to grow and what type of plants you can plant and shit like that.
Yeah.
I want to punch those motherfuckers in the face. But for a year, I'll live the life of the rich person, and in that time I will hire servants.
I would hire servants.
But American servants, American, they'll have fucking
Why not
birth certificates.
Muslims? Racist.
Well, no. See, damn, Chris, damn. I said
I'm kidding, man.
Americans. I said you can be a Muslim American. I don't care if you come from another country, as long as you're a legitimate
Or
citizen.
racist would be to hire just Muslims to do your like laundry and stuff.
Well, it wouldn't be necessarily racist.
But I mean, like if you're
Yeah, they're
paid
not really known for
for
doing
it,
laundry. If I say, hey, black person, I'm gonna hire you to do my fucking laundry and mow my lawn,
spit shine my shoes and pick
and then I
my
have my Mexican,
cotton.
and then I hire a Mexican to do my car. Okay, it's not gonna, it's not, that would be racist.
Not necessarily. Like, here's my thing. It's not racist to hire any person to any job. It really isn't. Even if that job has, like, historically been held by people of their race.
What if their job
What-
is? What if their job is to
Pick
let
cotton.
let them to let you be racist to them,
That would be, I don't know what kind of job that
but
would be.
they'll get
Believe it or
paid
not,
for it.
that you could do that. If like if you're that's
don't.
actually a job. Hey, listen up, young people. You want a job where you can sit at home? All you have to do is let some old white person yell racial slurs at you. So if you're black or you're Mexican, you literally, it's a webcam. Okay, you do a webcam service where you let people guilt free just fucking say the most racist shit to you based on your race, and all you have to do is sit there and accept it. Okay, and
For
that's how you get
$22 an hour.
and yeah, like you like $20 an hour or something like that, or like you charge an hourly rate, and this old white person or this old white lady, southern lady, you won't understand them half the time anyways. You just fucking berates you about your race, even if it's not true, and all you have to do is just accept it and take it. You can't say anything back. There you go. That's a job.
That would be, I think that'd be a harder job than people think.
Yeah.
I
Well,
think over
yeah,
time that
because I
would
mean,
start.
naturally, your first reaction, well, most people's first reaction is to go, "Okay, motherfucker," and you fight back.
My
But
first reaction would be to laugh, but then
laugh.
over time I'd probably start crying.
Start
You get tips
you
for crying.
fucking cracker. But no,
But no, like what the point I was getting at is it wouldn't necessarily be racist to hire just Muslims because Muslim's not a race. Any race can be Muslim. But now if you hired only Arabs or Arabian or Middle Eastern people, then yeah, maybe. But I
Only
think
if
you
you
should.
only if you hired them to make your energy.
No, I think you should
Like, bitch, give
hire.
me that oil.
If you're gonna do the rich person thing, hire the what's considered the most privileged person in the country, whatever that may be.
A white rich bitch.
Yeah, I guess. Or guy. I don't know which one is more privileged. Probably guy.
Well, I mean, when I say bitch, I mean anyone. I mean, I'm saying male or female. But I mean, anyone who is basically who is privileged, like you said.
Have you? I don't know. Like, I don't really watch TV, but I do catch it every now and then.
Yeah.
There's a show on, and I don't know if it's A&E or TLC, but there's this like white family from Georgia, like really white. It's Grizzlies or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Grizzly Knows Best show.
Grizzlies know
And
best. Yeah.
yeah, hire the guy who the dad in that show to be your servant. Now that would be funny.
I couldn't take the voice.
Couldn't?
I couldn't
I
take
don't
the
think I could
voice.
either.
I'm sorry. He speaks, and I don't know why, but that his voice just annoys the living hell out of me. Couldn't do it. Couldn't do it.
I haven't seen it, so I don't know what you're talking about.
You should just look up a clip of it on YouTube, just real quick, because it's worth hearing the guy's voice to know what we're talking about.
What was it?
It's
It's extra
spelled like
southern and extra flamboyant.
yeah,
And I
it's
just
like
can't.
your
Can't do
name, Chris, plus Ley at the end, Ley, knows best. Can't believe we're plugging the show on our podcast.
Oh, I'm not plugging it.
Well,
I'm
anytime you
saying
mention something from something else, I mean, you're technically plugging it. Like,
oh,
and like whenever I mention another podcast on the show, it's technically advertising for them, even though we don't have a lot of subscribers. Just listen to the dad talk and just look at the dad, and it's like you'd swear up and down that he'd have a husband.
I won't lie. That's the first thing that came to mind. I was kind of surprised he had children, but
Well,
I can't take the voice. It's just I'd be like, dude, use your normal voice. Okay,
no, I mean that is his normal voice.
that can't be his normal voice. I don't know
I
I
think
don't
he
know.
was raised with sisters. I don't think he had any brothers.
I had three sisters, no brothers.
Yes, but
I
you
know
didn't have to
I have a deep carrying voice.
uh,
I just don't know. I mean, I'm
Oh my.
sorry. Like, hey, like I'll never make fun of someone's laugh or something like that or nothing like that. But someone's voice is not is off limits. I can't take absurdly deep voices, and I can't take absurdly high flamboyant voices. Just I can't do it.
But no, it's like if I could think of the possibly most privileged kind of person in the United States, that would be it.
Yeah, probably. Yeah.
Whenever people talk about privilege and all that crap, which I take
Have you
with a grain of salt.
seen like the rich kids on Instagram and stuff? Like
I've seen
I don't
some of those
what's
photos. Yeah.
Instagram? Is that
ridiculous,
some
man.
privileged
The
kid
funny thing
thing?
is, I see a lot of alcohol. I see a lot of alcohol. So it's like, okay, thank you for showing all your wine pictures, but is your life really that good if you have to drink that fucking much? I wouldn't judge you if you had a big giant glizzling black bag of potent weed. Don't get me wrong. I wouldn't judge you on that at all. But when you show 16 huge bottles of wine that you said, oh well, this was a fun night. All I can think of is that you're literally getting yourself drunk to the point where you do nothing but get sick and pass out. So what is so how good is your life?
With alcohol, it's a bit of a weird subject because alcoholism is something that it's really addictive.
Oh, I know. I mean, I have the
And
alcohol gene. I have the alcohol gene. I cannot drink hard liquor. If I drink hard liquor, I
and a
can
lot of it has to
easily become
do with
addicted to
that.
it.
A lot of people don't know they're alcoholics. Uh, Being an alcoholic doesn't mean you're drinking every single day. You can be an
But it
alcoholic
kind of does.
and just drink on the weekend. You can still be an alcoholic.
It depends like what
Yeah.
extent you go
Yeah, I
Terrific.
mean,
Yeah.
if you constantly go to blackout,
There's a certain level that you have to go past, uh, and it's I learned about it because I had to take a what's it called, the DUI class,
Even though Chris never,
and even though I never had a DUI,
they
um,
make you do it if they catch you with puppies.
yeah,
hey man, they have DUI lawyers in Georgia.
They've
I
got
shit
those
you not.
everywhere.
They
It's like
get
an
you out of
everywhere
DUI
thing.
charges. I don't know how they do it, but they must be some tricky ass fucking lawyers. I don't
Well,
know
what
how
it
they do it.
is like they take like whatever fee you get from them and probably put half of it in the judge's pocket.
probably. I don't know.
I just call it checkmate. Hey man, like it's a funny thing. It kind of like this. I don't know. When I was taught, as I was growing up, I was taught, you know, you always fight fair. When you
Mhm.
fight someone, you stand up and you go fist to fist. And then I started seeing more videos where people weren't doing that. I even saw a school where somebody, this kid named Matthew, he got his braces kicked in through his front of his lip, because this kid who wasn't interested in fighting fair decided to kick him down kick him on the ground, and then started to stomp his face. Now, to me, I was always told if you hit someone and they go down, you stop and you ask if they want to continue, and then if they want to continue, then you knock them down again. You ask again. See, like the fair fight, right? Um, that's just not what people are interested in these days. I mean, you can fight fair in life, but believe it or not, in order to get ahead, you kind of have to be a little immoral in some ways.
Well, I mean that's what's exemplified in our system at the time. Is if you can't it's so difficult to do things the fair and right way and actually get things done that it's
Damn near impossible.
yeah no that it pretty much exemplifies not doing that.
But see,
Uh,
I mean, could be. I mean, like the idealistic environment obviously seems to be, Star Trek's, system. Has equality, it
Yay,
has
socialism.
rights, has a social equality. I mean, there's not the social justice warriors, but there's still all those, everyone's viewed equally and everything like that.
Yeah, I mean, and even in Star Trek, like the way that they go about handling other cultures, I would even disagree with in some respects. It's like, it's their culture. Let's let them do what they're going to do. But like, and I agree with that all the way up to the point that they have one of my crew. At that point, it's like, no, we're taking our crew person, and you guys can continue with your cultural stupidity.
Well, I mean,
You know.
exactly. It's like as the captain of a ship, you'd obviously be concerned with this. One of your main concerns is the safety of your crewmen. I mean,
Well, do
you
you
have
remember
to
the
get
second episode of the first season of TNG, wherever the lieutenant commander who's the head of security at the time, I can't remember her name, but she
Tasha.
died. You
Yeah,
know,
Tasha. Yeah.
yeah,
The
Tashi.
black bit, the black pit, the
Yeah,
that goo that swallowed Commander Riker and spit him back out.
yeah. So like, yeah, the goo kills her, but in the second episode of this entire series, she goes to a planet, and this episode for some reason seems racist to me, but it's like everyone on the planet is black. And like they have like really it's like African themed, but it seems like their culture is a little more leaning towards something like Muslim, but without all the primarchy god things, and it's still like there's a patriarchy, even though the women control all the property rights. Um, so then Yar has to fight the woman in that, and then they eventually come up with a way to kind of collude the culture to where the woman can get rid of that guy and take a new husband on who's like does things better. It
Yeah.
was weird, but they like had to involve Yar in it, and she had to participate in their culture regardless of you know anything else. It's almost like the people in Star Trek give their own culture the back seat.
Yeah.
When and it's I can understand how that's useful for diplomacy, but whenever it affects the safety of one of your own crew, then I think it's time to put your own in the front.
Right, I mean, because I mean, you have that responsibility. You are responsible for the well-being and the safety of your group.
Yeah,
And if you and in most in well, I mean, in TNG, I think the Enterprise can hold up to 1,000 people.
yeah,
Um,
well over 1,000. I think I can't remember what episode it was when they mentioned there was like 1,400 on the crew. It was the one where Doctor man, names are just escaping me right
Beverly.
now. Yeah, Beverly. Yeah, Dr. Crusher was trapped inside of her own warp bubble, and people kept disappearing, and she was like, "I know I'm not crazy,"
Right,
you
that's
know,
right.
you know, and and it was her own thoughts that were keeping that reality in that warp bubble in existence. And then Wesley and the Qui-Gon, or not Qui-Gon, the Qui-Gon guy had to pull her back out of that warp bubble. Um, but yeah, there was a lot of people on the ship.
But one of the things like it's okay to change the subject. One of the things I was talking about with Justin earlier. I mean, not Justin. I'm sorry, Chris. But I was talking to Chris when you left. I was talking about the odd fascination with Hillary's inability to swipe the subway card,
Oh, that yeah, the odd
and whether
fascination comes from the fact that New York's supposed to be her place, right?
well, I mean, like, has anyone else ever had issues with that card?
I'm sure, but not very long after actually being there in New York.
Well, I mean,
Um,
does it work every single time? I mean, does it work every single time for every single person, or does occasionally does a person have to swipe more than once?
yeah, but the problem with her is she was doing it wrong. She was doing it backwards the first four times.
Okay, but as I was explaining to Chris, that was going back to that bridge thing. When you're a person who works in the city, as she does, and you are a person who is of better off means,
Yeah, you're never
you
going to use that.
well, yeah, you're never going to use the subway. But does that really logically or rationally or anything like that, does that really do anything to her character? Does that really mean that she's a bad person because she uses
It
resources
means,
available to her?
yeah,
It's kind of
no,
like
it
saying,
doesn't necessarily mean she's a bad person. But with her, the rhetoric that she uses in her speeches, where she's talking about, she's trying to collude herself with the masses and say that she's just like us. That's where it comes into play, and it also comes into play in comparison to her opponent, Bernie Sanders, who really does use the public transit.
but
Uh,
he doesn't work and live in a major city. Burlington is not that big. Burlington is
yeah,
not anywhere
but that, when he
close.
was mayor, then he was a representative, and then he was a senator. So like when he was in New York, and he grew up in New York for the first 19 years of his life,
Right.
he would still be using those amenities, and he still does use the public transit amenities. Whenever he goes on airplanes, he flies coach.
Right,
You
because
know,
he's not a
it's
rich person. He's not a
he's not,
well-off person.
but that
Okay, but
says
Hillary
something.
is because Hillary has not only been in politics, but she's also been in business.
Oh yeah,
Okay,
but it
so but
does say something about their character as candidates. It does say something about the legitimacy and the genuine passion behind Bernie Sanders concerning how well he identifies with the people he's supposed to be representing.
because he rides the subway. But the thing is that he's using the resources available to him, the same as Hillary is using resources available to her.
Well,
You have
yeah,
two
that's
different you have two
that's
different
not really
environments.
part of the
He
argument, though.
well, the argument is you're saying that like okay, well because Bernie Sanders uses the subway, he is more of the American candidate because he
No,
is
it
more
just
like us.
no, it
But
doesn't actually mean that. Like this, it hints at that. There's
it
nuance
hints
there.
at that. But I mean, if either you're saying that or you're not saying that. I mean,
No,
if you're gonna run the because like even SNL had the fascination with this. Even SNL was showed this clip. They were saying oh they were making fun of the fact that she couldn't get the subway card swiped right.
yeah, no,
Okay.
but it's funny. It's comedic. But
Yeah,
the reason it's funny at all is because there is a grain of truth to it.
SNL's it.
Yeah. Like it's the reason. Like if there was no grain of truth to it, then it wouldn't be funny. It would be like, huh, this doesn't make sense.
Right.
You know. But the truth of the matter is how rich you are in this country does have some impact on how well you identify with the majority of the population.
Okay. Well, take me for example. In
Yeah.
the view in not in the too late future. Okay. I will be better off than the majority of Americans. I can tell you right now, I have a lot more experience being being a part of the majority of Americans than people would give me credit for if they saw me in that advanced state. Okay,
Yeah, but you're also,
even if I
I
lived.
would go to argue that you're probably more intelligent and more emotionally mature than Hillary Clinton.
Well, okay, well, probably not more intelligent. She's college educated. I'm not. But certainly you could say that I mean
I mean,
the second
I
part. But the
I
thing is,
know
like,
plenty of college educated people that are
fucking
Dumb as
dumb.
fuck.
pretty dumb.
Yes.
No, I'm talking about innate intelligence and your own ability to remain someone with what's the word, intellectual honesty and integrity. You have that ability. I do not think she does.
But she grew up in almost the same manner as I did. She did not grow up privileged.
She grew up in the South as a white girl.
Well, okay, privileged in the sense that her race afforded her the basic amenities that black people
Yes,
didn't have access to.
yes, and
But
especially so at that time
but
when she was
she
growing up.
didn't still have functioning bathrooms most likely in the very beginning. She didn't
Oh
have
yeah,
access. She didn't have
Sister Stevie did.
she didn't have access to the health care that I did. She didn't have her mother
Okay.
certainly didn't work at
That's
Costco and get
probably because during that time no one did.
right. So
But
she was even worse off than I did.
yeah, but
Part of
you
that could
have to
still
you
easily
can't
remain in
compare
her. Like
your you can't compare your beginnings to hers because you're actually needing to compare her beginnings to everyone else's at her time, not your beginnings to hers and your beginnings and everyone else's at our time to hers.
what I'm saying is like her ability to relate. She still has those memories. She still remembers that stress of seeing her family not being able to get
Yeah.
enough to
Oh
get
God.
what
I'm
other
sure.
people could.
But there's this weird thing that happens in people's minds a lot of the time when they become successful. And I don't know exactly why it happens this way,
Ego.
but people tend to get successful and they get a cognitive dissonance towards their own, like the hardships that they had when they weren't in that position of privilege and in that position of financial success.
Yeah.
Whenever they did have to deal with those hardships, now that they don't, they feel as though they were the only ones that were a part of them overcoming that. And in that sense, they then kind of look down on everyone who's still there. Uh,
Right. They think because I can do it, everybody else can do it.
yeah, and I
It
don't
does
think
not
she's
remain
above
true
that.
though. I mean, they were technically able to do it. Does that not remain true?
Yes, but that doesn't mean
Besides the
everyone can.
rare exception, obviously.
Yeah, no, but it doesn't mean that everyone can, and it definitely doesn't mean that everyone can to that extent. Nor do I think anyone ever could always be to that extent doing it. But I do think that from the time that she was part of the Goldwater group and she had those conservative roots that she talks about so fondly, it doesn't seem to me like she's really the progressive candidate. I
Yeah,
mean,
but I'm a classical conservative, physical conservative, in the sense that I believe a government has a limited function in the creation of industry and jobs and stuff like that, and that can kind of stay out of the way.
yeah, it has a
Um,
limited function in the creation, but it doesn't
within
have one.
reason, obviously within reason, regulation obviously has a place, but there is a lot of when you get a whole three Harry Potter books full of regulation you have to comply with, and you have to hire special lawyers in order to comply with that regulation. Okay, and they have to work 60-hour weeks in order to understand that regulation. I think that's a bit too much. Okay, because
But I
you have
think that
decades and you have systematic years
yeah, but that's
of
not a
regulation just piled and piled, and more gets
that's not
added
an argument against regulation, though. That's an argument against bureaucracy.
over
Um,
government,
yeah,
over government interference in business. That's what I'm saying. Like, so I mean, I have classical conservative roots, you could say, in a sense.
but her
Okay.
roots aren't classical conservative. Her roots are Goldwater conservative.
Hmm.
So that's like racist conservative, not
She
the
had
the,
like
the
seven
Goldwater groups were
slaves
the
or
ones who
something.
fought for segregation, not against it. That's
Ugh.
social conservatism.
Well, the thing is, like, even like Warren Buffett, right?
Yeah,
He pledges to give 99% of his wealth when he dies, whenever he is. I don't know. Duke could live to 100. But he
he
pledged to
probably
give
just said that because he's immortal.
he's more. That would be kind of cool. He's a cool dude. But let's say okay, so let's say he's gonna give 99% of his wealth away to charitable organizations and everything like that, and to goodwill and making the earth better and the planet better and everything like that.
Hmm.
And he's always he's been for the longest time raising. He's kind of like a Bernie Sanders in some way. He's been raising the issues when it comes to income inequality and
Yeah,
and taxes on the income. Now this guy, by the
he's
way,
rich.
he's fucking beyond rich. I mean, his
Yeah.
company
No,
is worth trillions,
this
trillions.
is why I made the point earlier about you. I said when you become rich, I don't think you'll be one to forsake or really uh, have that cognitive dissonance towards your own success.
Right, but I mean, I would have that. You have Warren Buffett, who is actually fucking rich. He has that. You have Mark Zuckerberg, who's trying to use his riches to better a world based on his ideas, but he's a little more liberal, so it's not necessarily as scary. He's not like baby drill,
Yeah.
but so you have quite a bit of examples of people who have been born not within the best families, not having all the money in the world and everything like that. But they did all right. They survived. They grew up. They became more wealthy than the average Americans, and now they're trying to make change with that wealth.
Yeah.
Why
But
can't
here's
Hillary Clinton do it,
okay,
or at least in a small, very, very small part, be able to do it?
because okay, I'm not saying she can't. I would never say that she couldn't. I
So why
would
the
love it if she
fascination with the
did.
subway card?
But track records. If you want to look to see what someone's going to do in the future, you need look no further than what they've done in the past for the most part. Um, you want to take a look at, yeah, she's got it set. She's probably up right now. Okay. But no, basically, what exactly was I saying?
Talking about, I mentioned that Hillary, because of the fact that there's many other examples, she could also be someone who kept on to her roots, even though she's rich.
But her track record it does not show that. Her track record of arms dealing to people who had donated to her own foundation, her husband and her daughter's foundation too. The track record of her voting against interests or things that would be in the best interest of the people simply through either partner collusion or due to let's say just the bandwagon appeal of voting like all the other senators. If she really, and the thing is, you could be like, oh, all these other senators didn't do it either. None of them qualified, and it's not really it's not really an excerpt of qualification. It's an excerpt of who is really going to best represent the people of this country. And this is why, like last week, sometime I made and I analyzed really what we have in this election, and we either have we're either going to have a corporatist versus a fascist corporatist, or we're going to have a statesman versus a fascist corporatist, depending on the Democratic primaries.
But here's the thing: even though Bernie Sanders has won in several states, even though he has a lot of popularity, he is not the majority candidate. He is
Well,
not
he
the
is.
people's candidate.
Yeah, he
Majority
kind
of
of is,
people
though.
would actually fuck over the next person in front of them in order to succeed in life.
I don't know if
They are inundated with the system.
I don't know if there's
Hillary,
I don't know if there's sound statistics to back that. I really
I don't
don't.
know if you could get statistics, but the fact of the matter is, if you look at the system, all you can do in order to survive, and heck, if you look at the lottery, I mean, the guy who won here in Georgia, he didn't even have the money on him, and people went in his house and fucking killed him in order to get that.
Yeah,
Okay,
I'm.
now that would happen in anyone. Now, most people can't kill someone, obviously,
Yeah.
but they would easily fuck over their neighbor in order to get ahead of them, in order to get their
This
money.
this is
And they
pure.
would come up with rational ideas and rational thought as to how they could back
Yeah,
that
but
action.
this is like mostly speculation though. I mean, because like we could talk about this. We could talk about what the likelihood of this going in like what number of people are assholes versus which aren't. I still stand by my theory that 30% are assholes and they just seem like more because they're louder. But the point that I'm trying to make here is that right now national polls show Bernie ahead of Hillary, and that is a good indicator of him being the people's candidate. Now, there's also the fact that you have superdelegates arguing against switching their vote based on the populace, which I know they don't have to technically, and that really, if they don't, all they're really being is something to protect the establishment of the DNC, not the will of the people.
Okay,
Um, so the point that's trying to be made there is that Bernie Sanders still has a really good chance to win.
Mhm.
So he actually has a 68% chance to win. Um, and it's odd to me that people would even consider someone who, for if it weren't for the fact that we have such a crazy destabilized right wing movement in this country, that the GOP has gone nuts, we would look at Hillary as a Republican candidate. I mean,
Well, could you really?
yes, you could.
Okay, well,
She's
well, what about her record with women?
okay. Her record with women. Let's start about this one. Let's talk about her early days, considering
Well, yeah, early days. What has she done recently? What has she done in the
recently,
last 10 years? 10 years. What has she
last
done
10
in the
years concerning women.
last 10 years?
All right. Now, from what I understand of what she's done in the last 10 years concerning women, it seems more to me like what she has done as a candidate is not much more than anyone that you could mention, like Elizabeth Warren or even Bernie Sanders, has done for women.
Oh, okay. So she's not. So she's not any different.
Hold on.
Okay. I'm actually gonna go. I'm gonna take this time to go pee. I'll be right back. Okay, Chris.
All right, we can
All right.
take a little break here.
Okay.
I'm
Peoples,
gonna.
we're taking a 5. All right.
Yeah. So I just want to take this time to say thank you guys for watching. Um, uh, as you know, we started doing giveaways on my channel now. One person already won one of the giveaways. We have one more giveaway open. If you go through my channel, it should be under the loot crate. It'll say giveaway open. So go and check that out. Like and comment and subscribe. Um, and then that's pretty much it. We're gonna keep trying to get this podcast on a schedule. I know we were gone for a little while, but it feels good to be back. All right, I'm just gonna wait for these guys now. Yummy.
Okay, I'm back.
So
Justin went AFK.
yeah, sure
Too
here.
bad. That conversation was going pretty good. It'll still go too, because we'll get back to it. Get back to it.
Yeah,
What you doing?
just on Facebook. Look at that stuff. Apparently, there's another trailer for the Suicide Squad just dropped.
Yeah, I watched it already. Not too bad. But I mean, I'm not really somebody who knows a lot about that stuff. I don't really think.
Ah,
But yeah,
There you go.
all right.
Yes.
The whole point of the argument I was making is more along the lines of, for me, it's not about voting for a bandwagon appeal or voting out of fear of an opposing outcome. Anyone who understands the basics of what your vote is supposed to mean knows that you're supposed to vote based on principle on who you think would best represent the interests of the majority of people in your country.
Well, the majority of people in the country aren't voting though.
Well, I would say it's a higher voter turnout than it has been,
Hybrid turnout, but turnout has been like between 30 and 20%. I mean, that's not really.
but that's not even the it's not even the point of how many people vote. It's about, again, your principle on who you think would best represent the majority, because the president is supposed to represent the majority of people in the country.
Right, right, but the president of the United States also kind of represents the system that America is, the system that makes it run.
Well, that's what it's come to be, but that's not what it was.
That's not what it was. I mean, don't get me wrong. I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm not a Hillary supporter in any sense of the word, but as someone who has to play the stock market as is, it's not the best way to describe it, but I have to look at how the system is, not how the system ideally should be, or what's most logical, or what works the best,
Well,
or
yeah,
what should be. I have to
yeah,
go based off of what the
well,
system is, and what the system is currently dog eat dog for the most
yes,
part.
but that's the whole point of taking a look at the Sanders platform is you're talking about someone who does know how it is, does know how the system is.
But doesn't want to play in it and doesn't play well in it. I mean, he is a good candidate. He stuck to a lot of his principles, but he hasn't gotten a whole lot of things through. And it won't be any different even if he. I've always made the argument that it won't be any different should he get into office because I don't see. Even though
Yes,
even
and
though a
that's
lot of
when
people
we come in.
are up
Like I've
for a
said
vote.
probably on the previous podcast, is we come in whenever the midterms happen in 2017, and we actually have to flush the system this time.
Right, but we also said that when Obama got his second term because he was then really supposed to do a lot of things, including legalize weed and legalize gay marriage, which he didn't do it towards the end. It was the same way in Obama's second election. We were supposed to sweep the midterms. We didn't.
Yes, but that was
Republicans
his
did.
second election, and this is right after Bernie Sanders gets elected. You're still going to have a lot of that fire going on, and a lot of the best way to put it is there's a meme I saw where Bill and Hillary Clinton were standing next to each other, and they're going shh, and basically saying, "Be quiet, Bernie. You're going to wake the people." Once the people are awoken, or have woken up, it's kind of hard to put them back to sleep.
Right,
And you're
but
seeing
currently they're still
examples of this
asleep.
right now because of the Panama Papers in Iceland and in Britain and in several other countries in the world where they're calling for the resignation of their prime ministers.
In those countries, but those countries are not us. Those
I
countries
know
are
they're
the
not.
idyllic. That's what Bernie is. Bernie is trying to get us to that more European type of system where you have that ability to like go, hey dude, you're
Yeah,
you're hiding your money here. That's not right. I'm gonna vote you out. And the majority of people are behind me. Okay,
yeah.
because they're informed, because they're intelligent, because they're educated, because they're willing to be educated. They're not just accepting the
But
status
I'm
quo.
saying since the
Americans
start
aren't
of
doing
this
that.
campaign, far more people are now aware
Youth,
than they were.
far more youth are
So,
aware.
not just youth. No,
Mostly
like
youth,
I can even
mostly
give
youth.
my mom as an example.
Well, yeah, you have mostly youth, and then you have the people who are left over from the first era of love, the first era of peace, and everything like that. You have
You're
those
talking about
people.
the baby boomers.
Yes, you have
Yeah.
those people who had most of which who are now supporters of Republicans think that the young people are trying to steal their money.
No, we're
Um,
just trying to take back the money that
that
they stole from us, actually.
I pay Social Security, you pay Social Security, they're taking our money. We're not going to get that back, right? So, okay, so if you look at the majority of people, is like you said, the president, whoever it is, Bernie Sanders, ideally, if he becomes president, he would turn us more into the European model. Our Bill of Rights would become more live. It would be more realistic that we would have freedom of speech. It would be more instead of stay back 15 feet from the White House, or we'd have freedom of assembly instead of being kicked out, or cops pepper spraying a whole bunch of people who are sitting down peacefully. Like we had at that campus. So ideally, we become more like the European nations with Bernie Sanders.
Yeah, but the
But
point is, it's the
this,
motivation of the public.
the motivation of the public though isn't that. You gotta remember, even though we're at a 5% unemployment figure, um, the majority of people are making minimum wage are slightly above. They're not really making a whole lot more. And even in places where they've raised the income to $15 an hour, they haven't really realized much of a difference yet. Well, and it's gonna take some years, but they haven't realized much of a difference
Hold
yet.
on, like I would argue that Seattle is an example that would disprove what you're just saying.
The Seattle is in the middle of a boom, okay, and booms carry incomes, and that's why you have places like Silicon Valley and San Francisco,
Yeah,
where you have people who are younger than us coming out and making three figure salaries.
you
Who have
mean
stuff.
six figure?
Yeah, I'm sorry. Yes, it's
Three
not three
figure would
figure.
be like
Wow. Yeah. Go ahead.
$200.
I'm bad at math. I'm bad at math. But no, six figure. I tried to make that right too. Six figure salaries. They have six figure salaries with stock options, everything like that. They're even called the. That's where you get the term gentrification from.
Yeah, no, I
So
don't
so so
disagree
so
with
so, so Seattle is experiencing a tech boom. It's experiencing
yeah. I
a
mean, I don't disagree with you in the difference there, but what I do disagree with is the fact that if you take a total look at what's gone on in the past, 30 to 40 years, and you take a look at how wages were supposed to go versus how they've gone, and how CEO pay has gone up versus how it was supposed to kind of stagnate for the middle class, that's not what has happened. So when you take that into it and you look at it through that lens and see that perspective, you'll see that all these people complaining against minimum wage hikes are basically arguing against their own best interests because they themselves should be getting paid more too. If trillions upon trillions of dollars have systematically been taken out of the the fluid economy, the actual money circulating in our country, then not only is the worth of our currency gone down, not only is what we're being paid, even though it's more than in an arbitrary set than what people used to get paid, it's actually able to purchase less than you used to could. So it just seems to me like in this election cycle, we should be focusing on a candidate who is literally a statesman. I'm not saying a statesman is always the best option, but I am saying in this key time that Bernie Sanders is the statesman we need, because otherwise it's going to be corporatist versus fascist corporatist. And I say that not just like it's Donald Trump. Anybody from the right now is going to be fascist corporatist. Actually, Donald Trump would be closer to center than any of them. But
Well, I wouldn't call Donald Trump center right.
no, I'm calling him closer to center than the others. Not that he is center.
Well, no, I mean like closer than the others, as long as. But I mean, the dude switches his stance faster than anyone
Faster than Hillary Clinton.
than anyone I've seen. Even he surpasses Hillary Clinton. Like he'll literally support one thing and the next, and then go
Well,
against
that's
it,
because
and then
he's
support it,
literally
and then go
talking out of
against.
his ass.
Yeah, and I thought it was
He's grabbing. He's great. He basically he studies the audience in front of him. He kind of makes a determination on based on what he thinks they all believe, and then he goes after it.
Yeah,
yeah.
which is kind of what Hillary does too, except she has more research behind her stuff.
Well,
Yeah.
with the Democrats, it's kind of easy
The white noise
because
machine.
The Democrats, kind of like a very set thing. It's gay rights. It's against corporations. It's against it's higher taxes for the
Against
rich. It's environment.
corporation.
Well, I mean, against corporations in the sense that instead of seeing them as able employers, instead of seeing them as the thing that makes America, worth as much as it is, and the biggest country in the world. Instead of seeing them as that, they see them as these people. They see them as the individual CEOs of that company. They see them
Yeah,
as people who run them.
that's how the Democratic base sees them. The Democratic chair and the DNC and Hillary Clinton do not see corporations like that. They
Well, no,
see
yes.
corporations like corporatists see corporations. They see them as a means to increase their own bank accounts zeros. You
Well, I
know,
mean, corporate is also, in a sense, also kind of seen the same way I just described. Though they kind of see, as an entity that provides wealth or anything like that. They may not see as well an entity that provides wealth to the public, but they see it as an entity that makes America grow and makes their even if
see,
their
but
account
that,
grow.
they would be totally right if corporations actually made America grow anymore. The fact of the matter is most of the wealth does not go to the middle class and to the people working for them where it should, so that it would actually increase the wealth of the middle class, and wealth, not currency, like actual things, like houses and an actual good community with good infrastructure and all of that good number. So since we're not seeing that come from the corporations like it should, like you would think it would, like you would hope, um, that's why we need these further regulations. That's why we need to break up the banks. That's why we need to end the private prison industry that kind of exploits people of lower income. That's why we need to have pathways like universal education so that people can become productive members of the economy. That's why we need universal health care. That way people, when they get sick, aren't indebted and become a perpetual debt slave to the health care system instead of actually contributing to the economy.
And
Right.
also,
Um,
and
That's
also all the tax ditching that the corporations do, like with the Panama Papers and stuff, like they avoid so much tax that could be used to fix all
what
this.
if I told you that the U.S. is actually a bigger tax haven than Panama?
I don't know, because
because
I
of
don't really know too
because of the
much.
fact that we have corporate deductions and everything like that. We also have things like um, capital gains tax, which is the 15% tax on anything that you receive from the
See,
stock, whether it be dividend or return.
Panama is mostly for the CEOs, right? Now, when you want to talk about corporate
Board of
profits,
directors.
that's the U.S. You know.
Well, I mean, you have but the CEO is kind of like the CFO and the COO and everything like that. They hold major positions, but they're really, they are important to the daily functioning and even the long-term function of a company. But it's
They
really the
decide the
board.
direction things goes in.
It's the board of directors that will ultimately decide on any major plans that go through, any major restructuring, any major switches, or any major buyings of another company or entering of another field or anything like that. It's more the board of directors because the board of directors can actually strip a CEO and remove them just by
Depending on the
us.
nature of the company.
No, no, most
Like,
companies.
let's say you have
Most public companies. If you're a private company, you don't have to worry about that. But if you're a public company, you do.
yeah, it's true, but like you have any company that has any sort of sole proprietorship, like let's say the Waltons or the owners of McDonald's, um, it's at that point they have an interest in keeping the wages low because most of what their employees are being paid doesn't come from them.
But the funny thing is that these families, like the people who own Walmart, the Waltons, they
Yeah.
don't actually own the majority of the share in the company.
No.
Their share has reduced throughout the years. And if you look at McDonald's, certainly, it's the same way. The people who originally own the majority of the stock have, as they've gone on, or their estates have, as they've gone on, sold their share of the company is actually reduced, and the majority of people who own places like Walmart and places like McDonald's are hedge funds, and
Yes,
you know,
but the difference here's the reason why they do that, and the difference between what they're making per year. Like if they're decreasing their total of the share, they're still receiving a large amount of profit, and that profit stacks yearly.
well, I mean,
So
certainly, yes,
if you're
you're
talking
using the
about how
profit
much
from
money
selling.
is if you're talking about how much money is being stacked, then you're really talking about how much money is actually being drained from the economy, especially whenever you pay your workers starvation wages to where they have to take advantage of government assistance in order to survive. You're not actually paying your employees enough to go out and inject the money that you're paying back into the economy. You're actually draining from the economy by forcing your workers to go and do that. So what little money you do actually give to them, most of it comes right back to you anyways. So that money that's stacking on the CEO, CFO, and COO side of things is stacking and sitting. And if it's not sitting, it's going elsewhere. Um, not back into our economy. Usually into one of those tax havens like the Cayman Islands or Panama or whatever.
Yeah, Guinea, Panama,
And
Guam.
whenever they have the tax holidays, they just bring it back over for less
Yeah,
tax.
Well, they don't even really bring a whole lot over. I mean, that's
they
the funny
bring
thing.
a small fraction.
You ask them to tax. You're going to tax them, which is the original reason why they supposedly hid the money overseas. You're going to tax them at one point and expect that they're going to bring the majority back. No, 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 no. That's not going to happen.
No, you
We
need to
need a
impose.
new approach to it, and my approach to it is that it's a mandatory investment in America based on a certain percentage of that return. They can bring their money back. It won't be taxed. They can keep it. They can do whatever they want with it. But a certain percentage of that money has to be invested in American companies that operate and they employ the majority of Americans. It has to be, and you can do it through the stock market. Plenty of those
Mhm.
companies are available. They're not the hottest companies for
No, that
investors,
like this is
but they
this
are
is the
really
thing.
good companies. They invest. They support a lot of American jobs. They support unions and everything like that. You have to invest in those type of companies, etc. Once you do that, the rest of that money you can take for yourself.
Yeah, but my point is that
You're
roots
never gonna get
back
it back till
to
you tax it.
that roots back though to uh, the uh, the initial argument of what corporates or the corporate entities do with all of this money. If they are forced to reinvest it into the American economy, either through taxation or through some sort of like straight up law we put into place that says that if you're going to be a company that exists here in the U.S., then you have to go ahead and take so much of what you have and reinvest it into the surrounding infrastructure or into the surrounding, even into your own competition. Um, it would seem to me like that would stabilize the economy again. But it seems really hard to actually get them to do that. And that's why I think it will probably have to come from tax, not
Well,
from.
see, the thing is that when you invest in the stock market, you get a return. That's the thing that draws them in. They have to. They would invest their own personal income. People who run it would normally invest their own personal income. They have a set number of people who take their income, they invest in the stock market, would be bonds, stocks, options, etc.
Yeah.
In this
Well,
case, so they're already familiar to that type of setup. They're already familiar with their money being gained upon, getting returns, getting a dividend, everything like that. So if you say, hey, you have to invest in an American company, or you have to invest in invest in a bond of a city to improve that city's function because bonds run cities. If you invest in a bond of a city, say Atlanta or Detroit even or Seattle or whatever, you get a return from that. So technically, they get to keep the rest of their money. No record of it. Nothing like that. There's no tracking, no record. They get
yeah.
to keep the rest of that money. But then they also have the money that they had to invest technically. But even though they had to invest, they get a return. So they get that money back in some ways.
Well, yeah. The
So
same
it
thing
looks
would
like they
happen with
win.
taxation.
It looks like they win. They win. Yes, they win because not only do they get to bring money back, but they also have now years worth of returns that come to them.
Yeah.
But we Americans win because they finally took the money and they did with it what they should have logically done with it, which is then return it to the American system, which would then increase their incomes and their wealth
Yeah.
because more
But
people would
like
have been employed.
the same thing would happen through taxation, though.
Not
If
necessarily
you
because they would hide
oh,
from
hold on.
taxes.
But if no, like if we were able to close the loopholes and do all of these other things and actually attack the trade agreements that allow for this kind of offshore shell account sort of thing, like in Panama, then what we can do is stop this from becoming an issue in the future. Uh, Through that, when people are actually seeing the benefits of this taxation, when they're seeing stuff like universal health care and education and stuff, and they have a higher rate of pay, people will be able to spend more, and the people who are getting taxed more in the on the upper echelons of the tax brackets will actually make more in profit because more people will be able to consume.
Right, but they're
Capitalism always fails whenever low-wage workers are unable to consume.
Right, and I agree with that. I'm 100% there. But I'm talking about how the people who run the system view it. They run the system view upon each year what they gain and what they lose. They don't
Yeah.
think about the long-term aspect, and all they see is the title.
Well, then maybe
Okay,
this should be
tax
something that
on
bears into
returns, tax on
education.
bringing back money. That's all
Well,
they see. But they
yeah.
see invest in America, gain returns. That's what they'll go. Oh well, they'll pick that option. They won't pick the taxed option. They'll pick the investing in America and getting a return.
But here's my thing: is like this should be based in education. Then, whenever people are going into business class or trying to get a business degree or going into economics and going into understanding the stock market based on economic theory and being able to see bubbles of speculation and all that other crap that you need to be in the stock market, um, they should be taught because it is logically true that the taxed option will in a greater way benefit you in the future than the non-taxed option.
That's the ideal system, though. That's a rational system. That's a logical system. We don't operate that.
Yeah,
They
but
don't operate
the
that.
more you
They're not
keep
used to
that.
that.
Well, no, but
So
you have universities now like Prager University and all of these other conservative universities that are obviously bought through the Koch brothers, um, that come out and teach unethical business practice, like just unethical stock trading, unethical everything, because it creates a greater return for the individual, but they don't understand it actually impoverishes society's ability to continually sustain that level of profit.
right, and I
So
agree with that.
yeah, but
But
if
that's
we
not the system.
agree, but if we agree and we understand how it's been fucked up, then that's the first step in being able to get people motivated to actually fix it. Because when the more you're educated, the more other people, the greater numbers we have of people who understand how the system's fucked up. Not just that the system's fucked up, because everybody knows that, but actually how it's fucked up. Then, through the force of numbers, we can go throw eggs and yogurt at the White House and get things done.
Right, exactly. But unfortunately, our generation, which a lot of us were exposed to the previous generation's system. We're used
Yeah,
to
but
this system now. That's why we can see the flaws in it. But the thing is that, like, unfortunately, it's going to take a couple more decades. The younger generations will lead it because they'll have advice from us. We'll press
or
them on it. There's more information available online. We'll definitely publish it.
yeah,
We know the system. We've worked in the system. We'll inform them, and they'll do better. It's just unfortunate because it's going to take us into where me and you are in our 40s. We'll see the change that we thought could come now, but can't because the system is
no,
too
like
involved.
I'm sorry, but I think the change comes whenever the force is applied, and I think that we're closer than you think. We're way closer than you think.
Maybe not in our 40s and maybe in our 30s, but
Do
we're
you know
not gonna be.
how far away my 30s are? 4 more
I'm the same
years.
age as you. I'm the same age as you.
And guess how long
6
Doug
years,
will be president? 4,
8 years.
probably about 4 years, maybe
Oh, I
8
said
even.
8 years. Damn, I'm not even that much of a vocal supporter of Bernie. I gave him 8 years. You gave him 4.
I gave him 4 simply because I'm not someone who's irrational about his age. I give him
I don't
4.
think he's gonna die. If you look at this
No,
dude,
I don't think he's gonna die. I just think
how
after
many
seeing
how
how
many
much
memes have
his
you posted online where he's running?
no, I know that he's sprightly, but
Yeah.
after 4 years of being president, it's gonna take its toll on him.
Oh, certainly. Yeah.
But I think he will have paved the way enough by that point for us to elect another official that's also a statesperson, whether it be his own vice president, whether it be Elizabeth Warren, if we could ever
Elizabeth
talk her
Warren,
into
well,
it, whether
that's the
it would
thing. We
be
have to talk Elizabeth Warren into running
or Jill
because
Stein. Well, Bernie Sanders had no intention of running either until one veteran talked to him, and it's
he's
like
always
that's
kind of
all it.
he's tried his hand in multiple elections though.
Yeah,
He's not exactly new to the system. It's just that he never really won the majority of the public vote, so he stopped trying. And that's what I'm saying. Like that struggle that he went through is kind of the same way the struggle. I think the struggle is going to go for us. We're going to be into our maybe our late 30s or middle 30s and early 40s before we really start to see that change.
but I think that now is the important time. And if we don't
Certainly.
start now, then what we thought would be the change we would see in our 30s won't come till our 60s.
And that might happen, unfortunately, because the system is
But
too inundated. The
but
system is still active and
yeah, but
alive.
I'm not going. Like my thing is I'm not going to take the either a pessimist or an optimist stance on this. I'm going to
Yeah.
take a realist sense, and but the realist sense in this particular situation concerning politics and concerning the motivation of people comes directly from us. Even one person nowadays on social media can combine words in a certain way that it'll become viral, and all of a sudden everybody will have a new and better understanding of an idea.
But the
That's what's
fortunate,
different about now versus what would have been the inundation of the earlier times where people couldn't get things done because we're able to spread ideas so quickly.
right, but
I
the
think
unfortunate
that what
part is
you
it's so quick that people don't stick to things.
well, I
There's
don't
too
think that's
much.
necessarily true.
Well, I mean, it's getting better a little bit, but there really is a lot right now. Too much. Not a lot of people will read things for face value, but they won't go and they won't do further research.
Yeah, no, I'm totally aware of that. I'm just saying that the motivation for the people will be there a lot sooner than you think because of that. It's it's not necessarily that every person who's on my side is going to understand things to the degree that I understand them, and they probably will have some inaccurate, understanding of things. But what they will have, however, is the will to try and push things in a better direction. And while everything they understand might not be totally accurate, the principles they have, what the views that they have, and the plans that they want to get done, will still be for the most part better than what we're currently doing.
Yeah.
So like it just seems to me like I think within the next 4 years we will have universal health care and education.
I hope so.
Well, I mean, that's the ideal thing,
Yeah,
certainly.
and the only way, yeah, it's ideal, but the only way ideals become reality is through us. And the more people that actually recognize that, the more people that take that to heart now, the faster it's going to happen.
Yeah, I mean, the more people that get involved, the greater the voice of the public, the more chances that people who are elected in office, who obviously want to stay there, react.
Yeah, but it's about flushing the system more quickly than we have been. We need to also, I think, a really good thing would be to enact term limits on the Senate and or
Well, yeah,
sorry
but then
on the House.
you have to get them to vote in their own, basically their own termination, their own elimination from office. That's gonna be hard.
Yeah, but once we can get that done, I guarantee you the people who did it will be the kind of people we want. You get what I'm saying? Like the people who are willing to do that will be the kind of people that we want to vote in because they understand the underlying problem with giving people permanent positions like that. The underlying problem being that over time, it doesn't really matter who you are and how, with very few exceptions, how principled you are. A lot of times, money can wiggle its way into your vote.
And see, the thing is, like, we're some humans are really. I mean, as far as like, we like to view ourselves far from nature. Well, as far as the male part of us, not so much. We still have that type of, you know, king-like ego that
Well,
influences us in our early 20s, or at
I
least
would
our
say
mid 20s.
you say like we like to act like we're far from nature. I think no, that you said it correctly. I thought you the truth of the matter is we are much closer to nature, but I
Oh
think
yeah.
the people who are acting like they're far from nature are the most susceptible to those issues of king-like ego. The people who understand human nature, the people who understand, our species as a species, and understand biology and understand, the basics of reality to some degree further than what they were taught in Sunday school, apparently, are going to be closer to nature. It's the people who perceive themselves as far from nature that cause these problems.
Well, not, well, I mean, they perceive themselves far as nature because they want to view them. They have the ego that wants to view themselves as someone who's a unique individual, who's above all, who is number one.
Unique
But
individuals.
they're but that ego trip that they're on is a natural thing. They're far closer to a natural reaction of trying to make a male trying to make his own territory
Well, I think that that's a,
than someone who studies and someone who realizes that what our biology is and kind of understands that aspect of, well, this ego trip comes from a natural reaction.
yeah, but it may
You're
be a natural
removed from
reaction, and
that.
all things into the nth degree are natural. Otherwise, we'd be committing naturalistic fallacies all the time. But within the scope of what we're discussing, and we talk about nature, closer to nature, we're talking about the view that people have of themselves. If someone views themselves as not a part of nature, or someone views themselves from that position of ego, I wouldn't necessarily say that that's the natural position, even though that may be a position of reaction enforced through nature.
Okay.
Whenever I say natural in this inference, I'm talking about those of us who have been educated, who have gone through and studied the world and seen it for what it is. We understand ourselves as apes. We understand ourselves as living organisms, and we don't have that ego trip because we're not delusional. Um, and I would go as far as to argue that the prime example of that in this race would be Donald Trump, the narcissist that he is. It's weird that you would say that because most intelligent people, when they speak, their facial expression is pretty much to a minimum, right? Whenever Trump speaks, it's literally like watching a gorilla talk,
He does use his eyes, yeah, his eyebrows.
and in his lips is like, you know.
Hey, Bill
This
Maher
is
may be right. He may actually be the produce of a human and orangutan.
yeah. Although orangutans would be much more peaceful, I do believe.
They actually it's funny. Um, when it comes to grasping the human language, they raised baby chimp, orangutan, and gorilla, and they raised three other human babies at the same time. Obviously, the human babies had parents and everything like that. They just kept track of them. But they raised the three orangutan, gorilla, and chimp, and they tried teaching them language at the same time. They tried teaching them how to walk at the same time. They found that the baby chimps, the baby chimp or orangutan gorilla had better movement, had better strength in their grasp and their movement and everything like that. They had better understanding. They weren't as the human babies were crawling and barely walking. They were the baby chimps and gorillas and orangutans were climbing things. They were exploring. They could hang. Um, so then I tried teaching them language, human
Mhm.
language, and they found that the chimps and the orangutan and the gorilla could not grasp the spoken human language as fast as the human babies. The human youth, they grasped it a lot quicker. They used it a lot quicker. They became used to it. But when it came to sign language, the orangutan especially um, outbeat the human babies. They learn sign language at a faster rate. They learn more letters. They learn more words. They learned sentences and they learned whole basic phrases far before humans could.
And I mean, it's hard to see exactly what arguments you could make based on that. I mean, I would love to think that it would be cool that orangutans were actually smarter than us, but on the same note, it could just be developmental differences that human children don't get certain things until after a certain age that orangutans actually get them a little earlier, but that doesn't mean that they surpass where the humans go to though. So it's
Well, I'm just
like
saying, like, no, that was mostly that's what I was pertaining to the fact that I was saying that like he was a proposed orangutan, and
mhm.
you said that orangutans are the most peaceful. That was my point. Like the orangutans in this experiment, they were able to grasp language faster than anyone or
Well,
anything.
yeah, you could argue that from there that I guess that
They're the more intelligent of the eight species.
since peace comes from the ability to communicate, then the species that grasp the language fastest would be the one closest to that.
Yeah.
So, I guess I don't know what topics we were going on, but have you guys seen the whole cultural appropriation crap?
Yeah. I saw your rant, my man. I saw your
Yeah.
rant. I was with you. I was with you.
I mean,
I didn't get the battle, but I got the war.
I don't think it's cool to like paint your face black, like you're a black person. And I don't think it's necessarily cool for baseball teams to make profit off of shirts that depict Native Americans. And I don't necessarily think it's cool to just go around dressed up like a Native American if you're bleach white. But this whole thing where like the white kid was being attacked for having dreadlocks, or some white dude has cornrows, or I think I brought up the fact that someone could even argue that people with spaced ears, or stretched ears, are appropriating some culture somewhere.
I actually
And
heard that from somebody once.
I have a mohawk right now. Where does that come from? You know, um, the Mohicans, a Native American tribe that is no longer around thanks to white folk. But it's the point is, and I think I could just define my point by reading what I wrote on Facebook.
Pretty much.
No one should ever be told how they're allowed to look. You're not silencing or cheapening any culture simply by including in your own appearance some facet that has roots other than your own. Segregation is what we're arguing against. So why are we telling people that they're wrong for appearing a certain way simply because their skin isn't the same shade as the culture that some facet of their appearance comes from? If someone isn't mocking a culture in their appearance, then perhaps they aren't your enemy, but possibly your friend. Perhaps instead of attacking someone, you could potentially educate them about something that they just thought looked cool. I mean, it doesn't make sense to just go around attacking people because they happen to have adopted something into their appearance that comes from somewhere else.
Yeah, I mean, I technically, my head right now, I butch cut my hair. I cut my own hair. It's the only way I know how to do it. It's very simple. I don't have a powerful cutter, but it does the job. I butch cut my hair. It's only about 3/4 of an inch tall. That technically comes from the military. I'm not trying to appropriate.
Well,
I'm not trying to look like somebody. I'm not trying to look like somebody in the military because I've short cut hair. I get asked occasionally whether or not I'm in the military because the fact that my hair is cut like that is
well,
not.
people,
I was just taught that what a butch was, and I did it. It's the same thing with that.
but people aren't going to make the argument to you that you're appropriating military culture. It's like, I know that there is technically such a thing as military culture, but what they're talking about, and really what they're talking about, is, oh, you can't have that tattoo because it's something Native American or something from Asia or whatever.
Yeah.
You can't have your hair this way because that you're white, and only people from this culture who ain't white can do this. And I'm just like, okay, we're arguing against segregating people, right? So why in the world would you tell someone that they can't have their hair or have a tattoo of something from your culture? Why on earth would you want to make that statement?
Right.
If acceptance is what the goal is, then the first barrier that needs to be broken is appearance. And once that barrier is broken, everything else will follow suit. So why are the people who want us to just get along as a species arguing against cultural assimilation and cultural, fragmentation and blending? See, whenever I introduced myself to ideas of equality and justice and all of that, was in a different time during the internet, right? It was in the old good days of the internet, and I know I sound like horribly conservative here, but back it was in the good old days. No, it was back when these things were based around reason. When these things weren't based on emotion and how people feel and whether or not you're triggered, it was based on reason and whether or not people could be equal, not whether or not someone felt they were. It was about, are your rights being violated? Is someone violating the consent clause concerning you with the law? These were important issues. Now we're talking about whether white people can have cornrows. This is not important. And then of course people will be like, well, you're not black. How can you say what's important to black people? And it's like, I can't. But I can say that whenever you're talking about rights issues and what people, what impacts people's lives, there's a clear difference between someone feeling like they're offended over someone else's hair and them being able to go out and get a non-discriminatory loan. So it doesn't matter that I'm white. I can still use my brain to do reason, and use logic to show that, hey, maybe this isn't a very important issue. Maybe it's really not an issue at all. I highly doubt that the white dude with dreadlocks, is racist. I think he probably just likes how dreads look. And
I
if he
mean,
spent
you look
like
at his
6 years
reaction
getting
too.
dreads, then he deserves them.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at his reaction too. His reaction he's just calmly explaining to the girl that, hey, look, I'm not trying to appropriate anything. I'm not trying to look like anything or anything like that. And he wasn't really wearing full out dreadlocks either. I mean, he just had a few twists in his hair.
Well, he was
And
starting out.
oh yeah, he
That's
was starting out. But the thing is like, can you really say that dreadlocks are purely one culture? One culture in Venom. How can we prove that? How can we prove that the 100 other dead cultures that we never ever heard of, because they disappeared into history, that was never recorded, that was destroyed?
Well, my thing is, how can we argue that culture has to stay on these preconceived lines?
Right, and that's what I'm saying. Like,
Inspired us. These lines that these people are talking about, and they're trying to be the ones who are approaching equality from a good side of the fight, right? So how can you draw these lines about where culture can and can't go around the color of someone's skin and not call yourself a racist?
right. I mean, it's insane. It's too much attention to detail.
Yeah. I've always, this is what I was saying earlier, like whenever I came into this discussion when I was younger, people were more concerned about acceptance, about the equality being about acceptance and acceptance of one another, even though we're different and all that other good stuff. Because in the long run, right, and the more people travel and the more people just breed with each other throughout the planet, in about 160 years, there's not going to be any more different color skins. It's like going to be pretty much the same, maybe some variation here and there, but for the most part, what we know now as race will not be the same then.
No, I mean, like,
So,
you have it's
so
basically
where does the culture go at that point? Well,
right.
the
I mean,
culture's probably going to blend. The culture's going to blend heavily until when we talk about culture, we're talking about the culture of the people of Earth.
right. I
You know,
mean, like nowadays, when you have a mixed child, anywhere, any race has a mixed child, whether Mexican, black, white Mexican, it's all one color when it comes out. It's all one color. It's a light
well,
tannish color.
my thing,
There's not
like,
darker skin cues. And
I would.
you nowadays you see a lot more diverse couples. You see a lot more couples that aren't sticking to their race.
Yep.
I mean, that's also really good for our genetics, mind you.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's also I would never argue against someone saying that, you can't just say we're all the same, we're all human, because we are treated differently based on our races. And they're right. Yeah, you are. But that's not how it should be. So
Right.
for us to change that, we don't need to focus on the fact that it is different like that. What we need to focus on the fact that where it's different, we need to point out to the people making it different like that, making it to where people aren't equal or don't have the same opportunities, that, hey, we are the same. And so you can't be doing that. That's the point. That's the point.
Right.
It's not about going around saying we're all different, let's just accept it and treat people differently based on different ideas. No, you treat everyone the same. You you don't judge people based off of anything other than the character, the content. Like, you could even go back and talk about Martin Luther King, where
Yeah.
people are not judged by the color of their skin, but by the character, the content of their
Content of their
heart,
character.
or the content of their character. Yeah, and it's like that's what it's about, right? To me, none of that matters, and all that other crap. I thought for the longest time that we were on the pathway in the free thinking community and all of that other stuff to just being totally accepting of pretty much everybody, right? So through that assumption, right, I'm sitting here talking to other people. It doesn't matter to me whether they're gay, straight, white, black, green, blue, transsexual, or transgender, or pansexual, or whatever, like whatever, right? It was
Yeah.
not even an issue. It's just not even something I would even bring up. But
I
then you
didn't give
get
a fuck.
these slightly younger kids than me coming in, and it's like they're like, we're the first to notice all these different lines, and now we're noticing all these tiny microaggressions and stuff like this. And I was like, yeah, but you don't have to go
React off
around
of it.
attacking people
Yeah.
based off of that, because you know what that's going to do? It's going to push them further away from the idea of being able to accept people. They may have been just someone who was totally ignorant of this and was surprised by it for the first time. Now, instead of yelling at them about it and pushing them to not like this particular kind of person because that's who you're identifying as and you're the one identifying as, oh, I'm this and you can't say that, then that person is going to be pushed away from being able to accept you into the them crowd and not the us crowd. You
Exactly.
know, or sorry, into the push them further away from being in their us crowd, not the them.
Yeah.
I had it backwards.
No, I agree with Joe. I get what you mean.
So that's my biggest problem with the SJW movement is their delivery, it's their rhetoric, it's how they're against generalization, but they'll be happy to employ it.
It's their
Um,
intense reaction too.
do what?
It's an intense emotional reaction. Their emotion and their thought isn't separated.
Yeah, it's not diplomatic. It's not the way you go about changing minds, and that's the thing that has always got me about this because as someone in I would call it the early days of being a LGBT ally and all of that other crap. Back in the day on YouTube, I would make videos and crap concerning atheism, concerning the rights of people who weren't normatively sexed or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
Um, and it strikes me as odd that what I was saying then today probably would piss people off. Even though I was on the side of, hey, stop judging people for being gay.
Right.
You know, it's like, what? How did I go from someone who can catch lip from someone on the internet for saying a certain thing when I was back in the day someone who would give people lip for saying even more horrible things that they would never dream of seeing?
Right. I mean, you were our generation was a different type of social justice warrior.
We were social equality warriors.
We were socially yeah, we didn't go out there, we didn't scream in people's faces, we weren't nice online.
No,
There
we
were
were.
certainly a lot of swear words and there was certainly a lot of personal attacks that were digs. You call
Yeah.
the person stupid and retarded without actually saying that they were stupid and retarded.
No,
You
like I
know,
would never actually just come out with an ad hominem unless we devolved to that point. But like online and stuff, like on Facebook in the day and on MySpace. Oh, I remember MySpace arguments. Um, no, like you would straight up, you would put forth your argument and or critique their argument that they make, and yeah, you would basically make them look stupid in what you said, not in calling them stupid. And those were the days, right?
well, I mean, it was just different. Nowadays, I mean, uh, we were just taught. It's just different environments. That's what I'm saying. Like, it's just different environments. They will eventually become us. They will reach their 20s. They'll reach their mid 20s, and they'll start to calm the fuck down. Hopefully.
Well, no, a lot
Um,
of them are in their 20s and 30s, and they still haven't calmed down. Like that, maybe I shouldn't have said the slightly younger generation than mine, but the
well, I mean,
people
most of
new
it
to
is
the
though.
game.
Most of it is. Mostly it is young college students.
Yeah, but it's the people who are new to the game, regardless. Like they come into this and they think they understand the issue, like understand issues of like women's studies and all of this other stuff that's been laid down already, and it's been laid down by people who put a lot more thought in it than they are, and they're totally trying to change the game,
Yeah.
and
But
it's
they can't
backfiring
because
immensely.
Because they're trying
the
too much. They're not instead of concentrating on one issue, they're trying to get all of them at once. And so they're wildly shooting this gun, hoping to hit their target, but not really aiming that much.
No, they just have a very poor concept of how equality works.
Yeah, it's the reading the headline without doing the research.
Well, it's the whole argument of justice versus equality, though. For them, it's not enough for someone to be equal if in a particular situation equality doesn't give the person the same opportunity. But it does, though. That's the difference in recognition here between what we understood as equality and what they think equality means. Uh, for me, equality always meant that everyone had the same opportunity, not just that everyone had the same right to do something, but everyone had the same opportunity to do something,
Yeah,
regardless of whether they were disabled or whether they were able-bodied or whether they were black, white, woman, or any
ginger.
other period
ginger.
race or a Mexican
No, no, man, no,
actress.
man. Fuck gingers. No, I'm just kidding.
It's like it's hard for me to see these people talk about race and talk about racism like they're identifying all these tiny little nuanced ideals within society that are like deep underground, not like conspiracy in any way, but like deep thread based faults within people's personalities that are inherently racist. And I'm like, no, you don't know what racism is.
Yeah.
Some of you may, but
Yeah.
because you've been involved with all these people who are identifying it in this emotional facet, you're not grasping it. I'm sorry, I grew up with a racist brother and having racist people around me and people who actually were racist and would tell you their stupid ideas about what they thought about people based off the color of their skin. That's racism.
Oh yeah,
Not me accidentally, or going and like saying the wrong epithet around someone who happens to be black, or not. It's not me as a person who would fight for every right they have, right? It's not us who are racist. And I would argue that the people who are super racist are not that relevant anymore.
no,
They still
no.
have some impact, especially in rural areas, and it's hard, I know, in some areas for anyone who's not white to get a job and all that other good crap. It's
Well, I mean,
ridiculous.
there is some
There's still
things that,
problems, but we need to look at those problems, not these made up ones.
yeah.
And I would argue that in a lot of cases, the SJW people who are trying to be all pro equality and all this other stuff and jump in for justice and all that other tripe, they, at the deep core of their arguments, are racist themselves.
Yeah, they put too much recognition into separation. This is what a black person is. This is what we can't do to offend a black person because a black person is this, this, and this, and that.
Yeah, and you know who
You can't
gets
offend a
to decide
Mexican
that?
because this person is this and that.
You know who gets to decide that, according to them?
Hmm.
You don't get to say anything about black people because you're not black. But this black person over here gets to tell us what black people are. No one black person gets to tell you what black people are. No one Mexican gets to tell you what Mexicans are. No one Asian person gets to tell you what Asian people are. No one white person gets to tell you what white people are. So that means also, conversely, no black person gets to tell you what white people are. No white person gets to tell you what black people are. Nobody gets to say what anyone is based on race because no one is anything based on their race.
Right. It's,
Goodness.
it's purely the environment in which you grow up in that produces
Yeah.
you.
Yeah. All right, guys, we gotta end this before it gets later.
Okie dokie.
Oh man,
And
this one was good.
it was
I know
pretty good.
this one was really good.
I
You
mean,
guys got a
I
treat.
could tell we just had like so much built up since we missed a couple there, but it's great.
Playing on my brain for a while.
I know,
Yeah.
right?
Episode 16, more to come. Um, thank you
All three.
guys. Thank you guys for showing up, watching our stream. We'll be back again on next Sunday, I hope.
Yeah, hopefully.
And like, comment, and subscribe, all that good stuff.
You
And
love us. Come on now.
we'll see you soon.
I
Bye.
say that there's going to be people who disagree with me, and I'm going to wait for it, and I hope they comment. I hope comment if you disagree with me. I will personally argue with you.
Oh yeah, yeah. You guys, dude, let's do it. Come on now. Bring it.